So, I just woke up from probably one of the most intense and coherent dreams that I have had this year. I have a bit of a headache because I fell asleep during the day, which I shouldn't have, but I did anyway. And now that I've woken up, I'm here to tell you all about it. I'm probably gonna make for those of you who have seen my DeviantArt, I'm gonna be making a drabble based on this dream. But I don't know how much of it I can change considering how much I remember and how much of it actually stitches together as a story. Okay, so don't ask me why my brain decided to pick Knuckles, Cream, and I thought about Sonic at one point. Don't know how that happened, but we were in, I would have to say it was like a classroom setting where the chairs were facing to the wall, but I don't remember seeing like a blackboard or a whiteboard or anything particularly interesting to look at. And then somebody came up to me, and my attention was drawn to them. I think it was supposed to be my sister, and Knuckles was there like a row behind me, and he had a foam plate on the floor by his feet, and a bunch of sandwiches on the floor also there. And I'm like, oh, he looks so sad. I have to do something. And if you were there too, you probably would have said the same thing because this poor kid. Anyway, I dug around in my bag. I found a $20 in my currency, which I guess is the only type of currency that my brain knows to spawn. Which, by the way, is kind of funny. My brain also put me in a very, what's the word I'm looking for here? A very recognizable place. It actually put me in my country, as in, it took me to various places around my country, which is something that it doesn't do. It usually like has me in various places that have no correlation to each other, or they're places from my imagination, or some places I haven't seen before in my entire life. Whatever the case was, I went up to him and I think I was supposed to just hand him the money and leave, but that didn't end up happening. I said, so here's some money. Why don't you go get some more lunch, and we'll eat it together over here. I think it was like lunchtime or something. I mean, it had to have been. And he was like, "You would do that for me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he took my hand, and then we started walking through the school to go outside, and I felt shy about it for some reason. And now that I'm thinking about it, why are they letting the students outside of the school to go buy food? Uh, well, whatever the case was, uh, I forgot I was supposed to, whatever. Um, while we were out there walking, I'm not sure how far we walked to get to this food place. I can't really remember what happened at the food place either. There was something going on. By the way, um, another detail that my brain decided to put in there was that the cashiers had the clear plastic screens as you would see nowadays. So I thought that was that. I mean, I'm thinking now that's pretty interesting. Um, so I gave him the money to go get his thing, and then I guess I went back outside and sat down in one of my friend's cars, and then for whatever reason, her mother got in the car and drove away for like maybe 5 minutes, and I was like, is Knuckles coming? And she's like, what? And so we stopped the car, and I did not see Knuckles for the rest of the dream. because he had gone missing. So, excuse the random background noises. I'm trying to get something to eat. There's cup noodles, which I warmed up water in the sink for. Just put this back before it falls out of the fridge. But I was supposed to hot it in the kettle because it's a cup noodle. I don't know what I'm gonna do about this. Right. So, I got worried. I don't think my friend, whoever friend that was, I didn't recognize her. I don't know her name, neither her mother, but they were both blonde and fair skinned for some reason. That was kind of a weird detail, but I mean, I guess my brain has to fill in the blanks somehow. And then, let's see. I think for whatever reason, again, I don't know how my brain switches between scenes and stuff. I was like sitting outside on a park bench and I had my bag next to me and Cream was there. For those of you who don't know who Cream is, she's this character from the same franchise as Knuckles. I will probably show a picture. Oh, today wants to be really windy. I hope you guys can hear me above all of that noise. Okay, so, she apparently had a phone that could insta access everyone else's phones. Well, I mean, her species, you know, because they're not human in their franchise. And she was like, I think she said something along the lines of Knuckles was fine until like about an hour later. I'm gonna stick this little part in because I don't know how I knew that Knuckles was somehow in danger or something. So in order to make it seem a little more coherent, I would be like, it's been an hour, where is he? And then such and forth, my worry would be justified, right? So, by the way, the cup noodles is beef flavored. I was not supposed to pull that all the way off. Whoopsie. Let me get the chopsticks. Let me see what happens after this. Because, I know what happens, like, a little bit later, but I can't remember how we got there in the first place. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I was really worried about this dude. I don't know where he was and stuff. So, I guess Cream fell asleep. And it actually started to, like, get a little late in the day where the sun started going down. But I don't think it reached that point just yet. I hope that this noodle cup does not have holes in it. That sometimes happens. I think that's partially the aunt's fault. I noticed that she put her phone back in, like, wherever it was. She put it back in my bag for some reason, and I'm like, well, I mean, if she's asleep, maybe I could, sneak and try and find where Knuckles is. And as soon as I stuck my fingers into the pocket, she's like, hey, that's mine. And I'm like, well, I mean, I immediately decided to lie here. I just, by the way, I was like, well, I mean, my phone was in there. I'm sorry. And she's like, she didn't seem to believe me. And then she took her phone back. And then I correctly assumed that she was particularly mad at me. And I thought that she would not help me after this, like with my request of finding out where Knuckles was at that point. I was like, please, you're the only one who can help, kind of way. Um, okay. No good, no good, no good. Okay. Ignore that. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Let me just grab this, stick it on this. I hope that water is hot enough. And she was like, she was eventually like, fine. And then she did something to my phone, and then it sent a feed of what his camera was, the camera on his phone was seeing, and immediately I recognized that he had been kidnapped, and that's pretty much the first thing that came out of my mouth, and I was like, no, he's been kidnapped. Wait, rewind. I remember the part that got Kareem to agree to doing what I asked. I put my head down on my bag and started to cry because I was actually that worried about him, one, and two, I knew in that moment that I was actually fake crying as well. I was putting a little bit of fake crying in there. I don't think she got past. She realized that I was kind of fake crying there too. um, but anyway, right. So then I find out that the kitten has been kidnapped, and from what I could see on his phone, from the camera feed from his phone, I could also hear guys talking in the background, laughing and stuff. And while I was looking at it, for some reason, it was like, oh, wait, hang on. They were like, hey, it's waking up. And then I think one of them was like, kick it. And then I guess the phone screen tilted or something along the lines of that. And then it showed outside the window, and I recognized the place. Somehow or the other, my brain decided to put down these huge white uh, communication satellites that were like only framework. And I'm like, I know those communication satellites. And then the next major part of the dream happens. It turns to night, and I think at that point I had like amassed a couple of people who were willing to help me find Knuckles. I don't think there were like school staff or anyone who actually knew the dude, but because I was worried and wanted to help or something like that, don't know why. Also, I'm not timing this thing. It's supposed to be for 3 minutes. I don't know how long I put it in there. Uh, and I think I got the idea to use Google. Uh, I I don't have data on my phone, by the way, and I don't use my phone outside of the house. So I don't know how my brain came up with talking to Google to find out where the large white satellite dishes, communication discs, whatever you want to call them, are located in the country. Uh, I have never used Google Maps, but I have been in a car with my sister who was using Google Maps, and it was actually a fairly hilarious experience because I think there were like 2 roads labeled the same thing within our country, and Google Maps was trying to send us to the wrong one. But we knew in the general area where that specific road was supposed to be, so we kept trying to defy the AI, and she was like trying to make us do U-turns and all kind of stuff. It was funny. Right. So I think there was some minor events happening before this where I was running across the countryside, and then there were like these toxic neighbors who wanted to get rid of us from off the streets. And Um, what else? By the way, all of that noise in the background really is branches scraping on the roof. This is why I don't record during the day, or at least inside of the house. But my mother and my sister are out now, and like I said, I fell asleep. So there's that. Um, what else? Well, yeah. Well, first I asked Google where this place was, and at that point I was running, and I was like, I can't look down at the screen and run at the same time. I don't know why I couldn't have, but I got mad because Google didn't automatically read out where the location was. So I at one point I just brought the phone up to my face. I was like, Google, tell me where, tell me the location, or read out what's printed on the screen at the moment, something along the lines of that. And then it told me that it was in Duford Town. I think my brain was trying to autocorrect that to Duncan Village, which is an actual place in my country. But for some reason, it decides that Duford Town is exactly where I'm supposed to go. So, at this point, it has become like pitch black night, and bad guys start to come out of the thick. And remember the people that I told you that were there helping me? Um, they started fighting amongst themselves, and so one of the dudes, I don't recognize him. You know how you can recognize people in your dreams, like maybe they're your sister or your cousin or your father or something along the lines of that. I don't know who this person was, but he was like, I think he was Chinese. I don't know any Chinese people. I mean, unless you count the voice actors for Genshin Impact characters or whatever. Nope, nope, don't think about it. Uh, and we started running through some thick grass, and there were still people after us. They had, like, they were trying to steal stuff off of our bodies, except that they didn't carry any guns, so we were, like, free to run away from them or punch them or whatever the case was. I don't know why my dream decided to make them so non-lethal. Whatever the case was, we were able to run away from them. And then, the guy who was still with me, he had fought off, like, a couple of them. Um, they had dropped, like, a syringe of some sort of red liquid, and it didn't have a needle on it. So I grabbed one. I grabbed it, and I snuck up behind one of them. Don't know why I did this, because it didn't have a needle in it. And then I jabbed him so hard with it that the tip went into his skin. And instead of, like, leaving it in there or something, I pulled it out, and then I kind of threw it aside into the, oh, wait. No, it's not that I threw. I picked up some sort of, after I ran away from this dude that I had, stabbed in the shoulder with a syringe, a needleless syringe. I think that the reason that they started to chase me in the first place was because I picked up some kind of a heavy metal rod with two, like, winged ends to it. It looked like it was supposed to be for like a car. And when they realized that I picked it up, they started chasing me, and I'm like, I don't know why I didn't just drop it and run, but I held on to it for like a couple minutes, and then I threw it aside into the bush, or the tall grass inside of the road, and they were like really mad at me at that point, and started to chase me even further, to like knock my wind out or something. And let's see. Right, so we came upon a house, the Chinese dude and I, and there was still somebody chasing after us. I think his hand was bandaged because he had been injured somehow in some sort of fight previously. it seemed like it was still bleeding because I could see the red marks through the bandages. And honestly, it didn't really seem like a bandage. It seemed more like a huge white glove. But whatever. I can't question my brain on the images it produces because that would just be pointless. So I um at that point I was like, I'm getting fed up of not knowing where I'm supposed to be going. So I told Google to show me the map to quote unquote Duford Town, and it showed me that I needed to go ahead and climb the ladder. And I'm like, what? And Google, for some reason, decided to be sassy, and she was like, you heard me, climb the ladder. And I'm like, what ladder? And then I see along the wall, even though on the Google Maps, it showed that it was like flat up against the wall. There was actually a ladder there. I just couldn't see it properly because of like angles and whatnot. But I mean, the orientation of what a ladder is supposed to be wasn't right on the map. Like I said, it was lying down against the wall and now propped up. It was vertical, not horizontal to the wall, is what I'm saying, right? So I'm like, okay, fine. And then the Chinese dude was like, I guess I left the Chinese dude behind to run along, and I guess I'll just put in this part later that he said, go on, I'll take care of them myself. And so I went along, and I was sprinting to the grass, and I woke up. Yep, that's the end of the dream. I never get to rescue my friend. It's terrible. Um, I don't even, I don't really have an idea of how to finish this to begin with. We'll have to see. Um, Once I finish that drabble, I will be posting it in the description of this video. So, I guess you can look forward to that, because that's a lot of details. It's so many details that I had to like actually record it because I was afraid that the longer I stayed awake, parts of the dream would just whoop into non-existence in my head. So, I believe that is all that I can remember from this dream. So, sayonara.